Okay, welcome back. Now, last time I was talking about my idea to change the build on the Talwar. I wished to give the ship a little bit more DPS. Now, up until recently, I was running a long-range build on this Talwar, and it did work really well. I'm very happy with the performance and very happy with the results, but it's time to change things a little bit, and it's time to give the Talwar a little bit more DPS. This is a 5-year-old ship, by the way. I bought this tower back in 2017. It was one of my first ships on this account. So, the first change was made in the ship's rigs. I used to have 2 of these missile rigs to improve the missile flight range or flight distance. Now I added 1 loading bay accelerator, which will improve the missile rate of fire. The range is still really solid, about 59 kilometers. Overall, that range is still overkill if you ask me, so there's a big chance that I'll change the other missile rig as well. In the medium slots, the same extender, same microwave, and the targeting thing. In the low slots, I have dual ballistic computers and 1 nanofiber. So currently 97.4 DPS. So let me quickly remove the missiles. After all, the tower has a bonus on explosive missiles, and in order to see the maximum DPS, I will go and add the explosive missiles, but I have all 4 damage types in the cargo hold, because some of the ships that we fight have a hull on explosive, some have a hull on thermal, some on kinetic, so it's important to have a matching ammo for the matching target. So now the DPS is a little bit higher, 116.9. You can overheat, and this will add 20 more DPS, 137.6 DPS. It has good alpha damage. The Talwar is known to have good alpha. Targeting distance 64.17 kilometers. The tank, well, the tank is a speed tank. It's about the same. The velocity 1.6 kilometers per second. That is because I removed the dual nanofibers that improve the speed. When I overheat the microwave, 2.3 kilometers per second, which is really solid. Overall, I'm very happy with this current result. I didn't sacrifice a lot of speed in order to get this build running. Now, today I'll be running the Serpentis live cargo distribution facility. I'll be completely alone, so it means a solo run. This is a dedicated combat site belonging to the Serpentis Corporation pirate faction. It can be found via exploration by scanning anomalies in high-sec and low-sec systems. The stars and their Tech 3 equivalents are the maximum ship class allowed to enter the site. Completing the site or complex may award the player with valuable Corelli B-type and Shadow Serpentis faction modules. So, let's take a look at the walkthrough. The first room, 25 frigates and 6 sentry guns. My main targets in the first room are the sentry guns and the frigates. Basically, I recommend that you remove the sentry guns because they can have some nasty DPS. Second room has 3 Stasis towers, and the Stasis towers are my primary target. In the second room, after the Stasis towers, I eliminate the frigates, and then at the end I eliminate the remaining sentry guns, or I jump through the gate, because you don't need to kill all targets in order to jump to the gate. You just have to destroy all ships. The turrets can stay. Third room will have 1 cruiser that will have a dampener. The dampener might be a problem later on, but overall the third room isn't that difficult. And the fourth room. The fourth room can be nasty because you have 8 cruisers that will have 8 dampeners that will be thrown at your ship, and they will reduce your locking distance to about 20 kilometers. If you have a sensor booster or the sensor thing that I called it earlier, then you can kind of compensate for that, and you will have about 30 kilometer range, and you will have to orbit at that distance if you want to shoot them down. In the fourth room, I usually try to eliminate the Shadow Serpentis ship first, and well, the loot Corelli B-type modules, Shadow Serpentis modules, overall they can drop some very nice stuff, and you can make bank. Now, since I know that EVE can be difficult, and since the game is kinda complicated at times, I'll do the site slowly. I'll show you basically what I do in this site, so that I can give you a good guide and a good walkthrough. on how to do this efficiently without dying. Now, the most important thing and the most important aspect of this is you don't need to fly a expensive ship. Like I said, I use this Talwar. You could see the build, and this ship at best costs about 3 million. I think it's even cheaper if you go at YETA. At YETA, the market prices are the cheapest. So let's say this ship costs about 3 million, and so far we made, I would say about 1 billion in ISK with the stores in the last couple days by running sites in HiSec. Overall, that's what I recommend that you try to do, because it's very fun, it's challenging, and it does reward you really well. So this is the first room, and the first wave we have a lot of frigates. Now the first room is actually very easy. The ships that you will fight here will not have a lot of DPS, and you don't have to worry about those frigates. However, once you enter the second room, that's where things can be a little bit more dangerous. Now, so far they don't seem to carry any Scaramber or Disruptor, so if you notice that things are going south, you can warp out. This site doesn't require any keys for the warp gates, so you can easily return to the site and continue to run it. So you don't have to worry about losing the site if you have to warp out. Some of the other sites, like the Fee Outpost and some of the more serious sites for cruisers, do have keys. Of course, not all sites are the same, but for some sites you need to have keys for the jump gates, and the key can be consumed once you enter the warp gate, the acceleration gate. So if you warp out and if you want to go back, you can't do that unless you find the key from somewhere else. So, but thankfully in this site here, that doesn't seem to be a problem. Now I have my missiles separated in two groups. The first main group has 4 missiles, and the second secondary has 3. And this is because I can focus 2 targets at the same time, and I can technically improve the clear speed by destroying 2 targets at once. Now this depends on your alpha damage. The Talwar has a lot of alpha damage. I have about 1000 alpha, so I can do this easily. Those ships don't have a lot of hit points, but if you don't have the same alpha damage, then try to combine and set the groups so that you can destroy the ships as quickly as possible. In my case, this is the setup that I use. The sentry guns are located far back, so they're not going to be a immediate threat, but if you are a close range brawler ship, make sure that you have a lot of tank. Armor tanks do this well. The Algos and Dragoon can also run this well. Actually, drone boats, drone destroyers should be clearing this very easily, because even if you get dumping, even if your sensors are under heavy damping effect from the dampeners, the drones will go berserk. They'll just go shoot anything in their sights, so even if you can't lock them, the drones will keep killing them. With the turret destroyers and with the other missile destroyers, it might be a bit more difficult, because you have to lock the target in order to shoot and kill the target. Unless you have the auto-targeting missiles that you can fire and forget, basically. That's a little bit different, but for the basic missiles, for the basic ammunition, it's not working like that, so you have to lock and shoot them. And slowly I am clearing the first wave. Now, you don't have to kill all ships, like I mentioned before. The only ships that you have to kill are the frigates. The turrets, the sentry guns, you can ignore them, but I recommend that you kill them, or at least reduce their number before you go for the gate, just so that you don't take a lot of damage while going towards the gate, because they will shoot you if you get close. Now I'll reduce the number a little bit, and then I think I'll just go straight towards the acceleration gate. This is where the sniping aspect will work really well, and I personally prefer a micro warp drive kite for the anomalies. Same thing can be applied for the Orcus and for the other cruiser sites. And in the future, when we have the ships for them, we will also run the sites for battle cruisers or battleships, not really sure. Actually, yeah, they are for battle cruisers, so technically I could run them with the Ortrus, although it will take a while, but the rewards might be really good. Okay, well, I'm slowly going towards the gates, and one turret is left. Okay, you can loot if you like, but the loot isn't going to be anything special. However, there is also the chance that you might get some of the more expensive warp disruption fields that can be about 5 million ISK per piece, and if you are looking for them, they do drop here. Okay, this is the second room. You will warp at about 35 kilometers from the towers, and here is where the fun begins, because here we have the status towers. Now I recommend that you focus down the status towers first, just because they can be problematic. If you get webbed, then all of the other ships will be able to hit you fairly easy. And here you can take a look at the resistance table on the tower. I'm probably not shooting it with the right ammo, but this is currently the missiles that I have the most in the cargo hold, because, you know, typical me always forgets to load the missiles before I go into action. This is a thing that can happen. So before you undock, make sure that you have enough ammo, and make sure that you have the corresponding damage type for target. I think for these ships it's thermal and kinetic. I'm firing with kinetic missiles. Yeah, I should be good. I think it's thermal and kinetic. Yeah, it is. Okay. The status towers might have a bit more hit points, but they can be problematic. I think they web you for 50% speed per web, which is a lot. And if you get webbed by a couple of them, your speed is gone. They are primarily a threat if you are a medium range to close range destroyer. For a long range destroyer, it should not be a problem. You just maintain the distance and you just keep on firing. Once the towers have been removed, you can go and clear out the frigates that are the closest to your ship, and just like that, most of the ships in the anomaly have been destroyed, which is always good news. Now you can do the same trick here as well. Basically kill all ships but leave the sentry guns. Just destroy all the status towers, just so that they don't web you on the way to the acceleration gate. One status tower remains. That's going to be the next primary target. And then I can freely go towards the acceleration gate and jump to the third room. We have been doing a lot of sites with very cheap ships, and we have encountered a couple very funny moments. we have witnessed a bunch of faction ships, very expensive faction ships, fail to run sites that we run with like 5 million cruisers. So yeah, having one expensive ship, you know, is not everything in this game. You have to have skill and knowledge how to fly it. So ease can get you so far, but your player skill can get you in higher. Okay, well, I am eliminating the turret here, and once this turret is out, I will go and burn towards the acceleration gate. Again, you can stay and kill all of the ships and turrets if you want that extra ISK bounty. I completely understand that, and sometimes they can drop some nice stuff. But again, the main reward is in the 4th room, so you want to make sure that you reach the 4th room as quickly as possible, although it's not really necessary to rush towards the 4th room, but there's always a chance that someone might come in and that someone tries to steal your site. So with that in mind, you want to get to the last room as quickly as possible. And with that being said, jumping in the 3rd room. Yeah, this is the 3rd room, I believe. The 3rd room has a cruiser, and it has a bunch of other ships. Actually, it has multiple cruisers, my apologies. One of these cruisers will have a dampener, while the other ships should be fairly easy to kill. You will land at about 33 kilometers from the target, which is okay distance for a long-range ship. You can technically enter these sites with a frigate, faction frigate, tier 2 frigate, tier 3 destroyer, tier 2 destroyer, a navy destroyer, a navy frigate, but the limit is the destroyer, so a cruiser should not be able to enter this site. Now let me just go and eliminate that cruiser, which I was talking about earlier, and then we can go and eliminate the rest. This is now the 3rd room is not really as complex as on the previous rooms. You don't have any towers that can mess your day, so it's pretty straightforward. You just go and eliminate the ships. Here you have to kill all ships in order to enter the last room. That's basically one of the requirements to enter the last room. I tried to skip everything. It did not work. It wouldn't allow me to go through without destroying all ships. Okay, let me lock on the smaller ships. Now the long-range way, as I mentioned before, is probably the most chill one, the easiest one to do, and the easiest one to pull off. Although a close-range build can also be a bit faster, because you probably will have a lot more DPS. And I thought about a Talwar using rocket launchers, although for that you also need to have a tank, and the Talwar isn't really a ship that can tank a lot. It's mostly a ship designed for a micro warp drive long range orbit, so basically it does work in the way I use it at the moment. That's how it's meant to be used. However, I was thinking about the rocket launchers. They can be fun. Basically close edge orbit with very high rate of fire and very high DPS could be fun, although can also be very risky, because that means I'll have to approach the status towers and I'll get webbed, and if I get webbed, I better have a good tank to withstand the damage. But again, the Talwar is mostly a kite long range ship, so that's how I use it. That's how I've been using it for the last 5 years. So yeah, but I might buy a Yeet Talwar just for the lols and giggles to see what I can do with the rocket launchers. Although I'm perfectly fine with the ship the way it is. It does work really smooth and really well. The last couple ships left, let me quickly remove those 3 frigates, 4 frigates actually. No, 3 frigates, okay. Now it's only 1 frigate. Which leaves us with the cruisers. There is 3 cruisers left. One downside of this ship might be the fact that I don't think that you can fit one probe launcher on Talwar. Perhaps you can, but I'm fairly sure that's a utility mode, and the Talwar doesn't have a utility mode in the high slots. So if you want to use the Talwar, you will have to reship, basically use a probe to scan, and then you have to go back, dock the probe, and then take the Talwar and roll out with the Talwar to run the site. So the run boats can be a lot more solo friendly, although the Talwar, I think I will have to double check that actually. I think I might be able to fit a probe launcher on the Talwar, and then I could have like 2 groups with 3 missiles each, which might be a bit more balanced, but I will lose some DPS and some alpha if I do that. So I guess there's that downside. I don't mind to reship, it just takes a bit time, and there's always the chance that someone starts to run the site before you, so that is a little bit, can be a little bit tricky. But drone boats can easily slap the probe launcher. After all, their DPS comes from the drones, not from the high slots, so the drone boats, the drone destroyers can easily do the solo exploration and solo combat sites. I would say not exactly faster, but it's definitely easier to run 1 ship for sites than to run 2 ships while you have to reship into the combat one. Okay, well, let's kill the last ship, and then I can go jump through the gate. Some other combat sites do allow you to actually skip and basically rush to the last room or the second last room. It all depends on what kind of site you are running. I'm also starting to contemplate to go and buy some faction missiles. Faction missiles can improve your DPS, although they're more expensive, but you know, might actually work really well. And let's jump. Let's go into the last room. Now the last room is a bit more different than the previous rooms, mostly because the last room, I would say, is the most serious one and the most dangerous one. Here, if you're not careful, you can easily lose your ship. And this is why the long range option is always going to work really well, because you will land at about, I think, 25-30 kilometers from the main group of enemy ships, which, you know, gives you enough time to set up your orbit, and it gives you enough time to basically find the Shadow Serpentis. This is the overseer frigate, and once locked, this is going to be my primary target, because if someone, let's say, decides to crash my site here, the wreck of the Shadow Serpentis will be mine, and if they loot, I can kill them, or Concord can kill them if I don't kill them. So this is one way to secure that the loot is yours, even if someone jumps in. If they steal the loot, shoot them. It's as simple as that. And I would actually recommend that you fit one warp disruptor, just in case if they try to run, you can hold them pointed and you can kill them. If they shoot at you, Concord kills them. So in both ways, if they steal your loot, you are free to kill them, and they can shoot back, but Concord will kill them. Or, well, you will kill them. Depends who reaches the ship first. So now, since the main target is destroyed, I would recommend that you focus on the cruisers that have these nasty dampeners, so that if you are a long range kite, then you can remove some of the dampeners and actually get your range back. Now they will not be dampening you constantly. That's the most annoying part, because the dampeners go on and off on your ship, so you will have to lock them on several times unless you get to the minimal dampener range, which is about 30 kilometers, 32 kilometers in my case, because of the sensor booster. And without a sensor booster, I believe this will be definitely a bit more difficult, but the sensor booster helps, or as I called it, the sensor thing at the start of the video, because I forgot how it's called for a second. My apologies for that. After you remove those nasty cruisers, you can also focus down on removing the nasty frigates that also can carry dampeners. And I recommend that you don't get too close to them, because that's a lot of cruisers and that's a lot of angry Serpentis ships looking at you, so you don't want to be close to them. Not too close, but not too far, basically in the range where you can lock them and shoot them, and of course in the range that you can avoid most of their incoming fire. Now I did take some damage here, because I forgot to use the micro warp drive. With a micro warp drive you can easily evade most of the hits, although keep in mind that the Talwar has a signature radius penalty reduction bonus for the micro warp drive, so the Talwar signature is going to be smaller than the signature of the other destroyers. And this helps at speed tanking. It helps a lot at avoiding the turrets. Now you can also do a trick that I'm doing right now. Basically draw all the ships towards you, create a distance, basically create a clearing, so that the Serpentis wreck, basically the Pinata wreck, is free for you to loot. And once they are at a distance, at a safe distance from the wreck, you can freely burn towards the wreck, loot the wreck, and then you can warp out. Now the site will disappear once the Serpentis ship is destroyed. That's basically counted as the site being cleared. So now no one can basically come into your site, and that way you also secure that the loot is yours. Now I'm slowly preparing myself to go burn towards the wreck over there. The wreck is basically around those structures. You can see the wreck on the screen there. I'm just waiting for more of these ships to start following me, so that I have a clear line to burn to the wreck, of course. And then when you loot the wreck, basically that's the main reward. That's the main ISK rewards from the site. You can stay and clear the mission if you like. If you want the extra bounty from the ships, you can stay and clear the mission. But if you have a different site in the system, basically another site that can drop some nice loot, I would recommend that you kill the Serpentis ship, loot the Serpentis shipwreck, and warp out, because the reward from the other site might be much better, or in most cases will be much better than the bounty reward that you can get from these ships. So it's not necessary to clear everything. Basically yeet the Serpentis ship, loot the Serpentis ship, and you can warp out, because that's basically the main reward. That's 95%, 99% of the total ISK value from the site. And since I have created a good clearing, time to burn towards the Serpentis wreck, and let's see what is located inside. My ship is capacitor stable with everything running, so I'm not really worried about the ship's velocity. I was thinking about overheating the micro warp drive, but no, let's just go approach the classic way. There is no need to burn the module. After all, I am not in a hurry. Well, actually might be in a hurry, because there's a different site. There's actually a different site in this system that I also want to do. Now here you have to be careful, because the approach can sometimes, the speed of the ship can sometimes throw you away from the wreck. Basically inertia, if your inertia is very high, then it will happen, something like this will happen. Basically I have to approach the wreck again, and it looked like 122 million in the wreck, which is very nice. Some tasty B-type modules there. And this might be a bit more risky, because your ship will be stationary, and then the cruisers can land hits on you. So once you loot, quickly go back into orbit, so that it becomes much more difficult to hit your ship. And since I have cleared the site, I got some tasty loot from that kill. B types are always nice to have, very nice for market, and I can definitely get some ISK for that. A 3 million ISK ship made 120 million ISK from one site in about 20 minutes. Very nice. Let's take a look at the market. B-type multi-spectrum coating, 110 million on market. That can go up higher, I believe. I have to find a good spot where to sell it, and then I'll get that ISK right in my wallet. Well, and now, like I mentioned before, you are free to run the mission. You're also free to warp away. I think I'll just go to the next site. But overall, this is the guide on how to clear the Serpentis, this little Serpentis site. A very rewarding site. It is fun to do. It is also, as you can see, quite rewarding. And most importantly, you don't have to fly a very expensive ship. As you can see, a yet-to-build Talwar that's not even worth 3 million ISK was able to clear it just fine. And well, with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed. Hope that I could help you at this game. I know that this game can be complicated, and having a good tactic is extremely important. So with that being said, I love you all. Fly safe, stay safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.